Nothing Worthwhile, the recognized symbol of excellence in crappy podcasting.
Live from the Doubletree Hotel in downtown, wow, does my voice sound bad? Tampa Bay, Florida. We
were too busy screaming in excitement.
And crack open a water. From downtown Tampa Bay, Florida, is a very special edition of Nothing Worthwhile. Night 2 of Wrestlemania at Raymond James Stadium is in the books. What were our predictions? Did they come true? What were our thoughts on the show? Moody and Groo are here to break down Night 2 of Wrestlemania. Andrew Gruthius sitting across from me here in our hotel room. It's about 2:16 a.m. here in Tampa Bay.
That clock is ahead. It's only 2:07.
2:07. It's been a long night. Night 2 is in the books. All right, well, let's get to it, Andrew. Night 1 of Wrestlemania. I don't know if you would say it was an unqualified success, but I think Night 1 was, for the most part, successful. I know we broke it down in an earlier podcast, but going from Night 1 to Night 2, looking at the card for Night 2, what were your expectations going into Night 2 of WrestleMania?
My expectations, looking at that card, that this night could have been, had the potential to be one of the great ones. I mean, every match had stakes, and not Tad stakes, but real stakes. Every match had participants who brought a lot to the table. It really looked on paper like it. I was really looking forward to seeing this thing becoming legendary.
You just said a lot.
Yeah.
So Night 2, you really thought, given the full body of WrestleManias, could have been a great one, like akin to some of the best WrestleManias out there.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, because of the potential for match quality.
Okay.
Match quality between with the level of superstars. The build-ups were great. They had a lot going into this thing. And I thought that this was, being the first one back after a year away out of fans, I really expected it to be something beyond special.
Okay.
Well,
going into Night 2, the weather certainly was not cooperating here in Tampa Bay, Florida. It was not just rainy, it was a slog fest all day long. Rain, thunder, and lightning, but miraculously enough, just about 30 minutes before match time was about to start, about 7:30, the skies opened up a little bit. Some hints of sun, and off we go. 8 o'clock, pyro, the video packages.
In our new Tampa Bay Lightning fleeces that we bought at Target.
Yes, we had to go to Target and get some kind of rain gear because it was just wet and it was cold and uncomfortable for Night 1, and certainly didn't want to. We wanted to enjoy the 3-hour plus show. So with our Tampa Bay Lightning fleeces, off we go. Night 2 is in the books. And we open up with a curious choice: The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Groo, have you been following the build-up to this match? And just give me some overall thoughts on Randy Orton and The Fiend. I want to say, I believe you're not very big on Mr. Randall Orton. Just give us some thoughts on the two participants heading into the match.
Well, I'm not. I never doubted Randy, or never been down on Randy Orton's talent as a wrestler, but I believe that talent has been wasted in a gimmick that's gone on way too long. The Viper, the cerebral assassin, or no, well, that's more Triple H, but just like this sort of downer of a guy towards the beginning of a career, he was more light and more like fun. Here he's just like, I hear voices in my. He's just not fun to watch for me. With that being said, he was going into this match with Bray Wyatt, who I have been a fan of. I've been a fan of every incarnation of Bray Wyatt, and they just keep changing him. I don't get it, but each of them works because he does such a great job. So I really thought with Wyatt's and the build-up with Alexa Bliss, with that, I was like, this is going to be fun. You know, it's gonna be violent. It might get bloody. Like, it's gonna be a slugfest. They're gonna really take each other to the brink. And with Wyatt's gimmick and his the way he carries it, plus his wrestling skill, couple that with he'll bring Randy into his world like he has been doing, and Randy has been doing a good job in selling his frustration with the Fiend building up. So this one really had a nice burn to it going into WrestleMania, and I expected real fireworks besides the regular fireworks that we got.
I'll disagree with you slightly on I'll disagree. I think he's done some of the best work pre and post pandemic in the WWE. I mean, really on the Raw side, there's not much main event talent. I liked his whole run with Edge, and I agree with you. Some of the booking with the Fiend has been somewhat quizzical, but Randy and the Fiend and Alexa Bliss have sold it fairly well. It seemed to have worked. We've talked about the Fiend before. I love the gimmick. I'm not giving up on it, but clearly the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, has been a victim somewhat of what I like to call stop and start booking. I mean, It's just all over the place.
Yeah.
All right, well, we opened with The Fiend and Bray Wyatt, and look, we're not going to go into a whole summarization of the match. The introduction to Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, was a little bit unique. They had like a big musical box that Alexa Bliss came out and cranked it, and out came what looks to be the original incarnation of The Fiend is back. The match was, as predicted on both sides, fairly short, hard-hitting. And then we have a very quizzical ending where Alexa Bliss now comes out of the musical box almost like an homage to Carrie as this mysterious black liquid is flowing down her face and her arms. And, of course, the Fiend is looking at it puzzled. And, of course, as he's distracted by Alexa Bliss, Randy hits the RKO, 1, 2, 3. And the match, as soon as it started, kind of stopped suddenly. Certainly was not a favorite of the crowd who kind of turned on it. Your thoughts on The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton?
Absolutely awful. Exactly the opposite of what I hoped and expected it to be, what it could have been. They decided to go full supernatural with it, and it really does more to hurt Randy Orton. Even though I think he's pretty much invulnerable at this point. But it's like he was a non-entity. It could have been anybody in there. It didn't matter that it was Randy Orton. It has to matter who's in the match. This was about the Fiend, and then Alexa Bliss comes out of the music box, and she's all, like you said, and then it's over. When everybody, including the two of us, were expecting a real slugfest. Maybe not a long one, but certainly not what we got. And it was trash. The only thing I'm gonna say that I have left to say is what I just don't understand how a bunch of creative writers doing this could sit around a table and say, I think this is going to be great. I think the crowd's going to love this. What planet? On what planet? It was awful. F is a grade.
Okay, to your point that we discussed at the show, I agree with you. WrestleMania is usually not a good spot to continue a storyline on such a quizzical note.
That's a great point.
I think, WrestleMania is there to either end a storyline or begin something anew.
Yeah. This did neither.
Well, I won't kill it completely. I certainly was not a fan of the ending. The whole Alexa Bliss thing did make me somewhat interested to see what they're going to do with it on Raw tomorrow night. But yes, I was like the majority of people. I didn't understand the ending. I'll give it a small nod that, the entertaining supernatural ending with Alexa Bliss and this liquid, I don't know where they're going with it. And so I'll tune in to check it out on Monday.
Well, the match was about 2 minutes long. Bray Wyatt's entrance was about 15 minutes long. So this was not a wrestling match, and that's what I was hoping for. That's what WrestleMania is supposed to be.
Are you really going to get a wrestling match with the Fiend Bray Wyatt?
You should, because he's a very talented wrestler.
But the character, the presentation.
Sure, they were wrestling for a little while, at least. Well, not a little while, a very short while. But yeah, he was about to do Sister Abigail on the thing, and then the Bliss thing happened. It's just, and you made an amazing point. WrestleMania is supposed to be the end or the beginning. This was neither. This was just there. And if they're doing this are they really going to have the WrestleMania just to gain more viewers on the next night? Like, that's what it felt like. Because, I'm interested to see what they're doing, and I'm going to watch, so guess who wins? Not The Fiend, not Orton, but the WWE. They win because I'm going to be watching tomorrow.
Well, let me backtrack. I think going into the match, I liked The Fiend, you liked Orton, so you're...
No, didn't we both say The Fiend?
Okay, my bad. Okay, so we're both 0-1.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the second match of the night. It's the Women's Tag Team Championship. Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. You may remember from night one, Natalya and Tamina won the Women's Tag Team Turmoil Schmaz Fest. Again, the women's match positioned second in the card. Any thoughts on the positioning in the card?
Again, dead on arrival, but that's probably because the first match was such a letdown. So this match should and could have been, well, no, it couldn't have been. It didn't have a chance. The second match on this night, how do I put this? Needed to gain the crowd back.
Which it's not usually, but usually the second match, the positioning kind of cools the crowd off after what's hopefully a hot opening match.
Well, it happened last night.
Right.
Last night, the first match was great. The second match was the women's, the tag team weird thing that was supposed to be on the pre-show, but because the rain wasn't, here it was positioned there. But the problem with this one was less the placement and more the people, and the ending. I think it's time for Nia Jax to go. At least based on her performance tonight, she's literally just lumbering around the ring. She doesn't seem to have much wrestling talent. At least she wasn't showing it tonight. She was boring to watch. And yet somehow they still won, which makes last night's big schmaz fest mean jack shit. Because the idea was that the winners of last night are coming in to face the champions tonight. And you have two very, very weak wrestlers, in my opinion, in Nia Jax, and who was she partnered with?
Shayna Baszler.
Shayna Baszler, who are just they're too thick. They're too big. If they're going to wrestle the way the women nowadays are wrestling, these chicks can't do it. Can I say chicks? I don't even know.
You just did.
I just did, but they just couldn't do it. And yet they still managed to win against Ali and who? I'm sorry, it's so late. Who was the other one?
Natalya,
Tamina. Yes, who are excellent in the ring and have such great skill. So that didn't make sense, and that was another not a start, not a stop. Just it felt like another an episode of Raw.
All right, going into the match, Groo and I both like Natalya and Tamina. Obviously, as he said, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retained the titles. A couple of thoughts off the top of my head. I was surprised at the amount of time they gave these two teams. I'd say they definitely got about 15 minutes plus. There was a couple of highlights in the sense the fans got excited to see a Jax and Tamina Snuka square off, the two big ladies. Here's what I will say. Match was very, very sloppy. It was, botch fest after botch fest.
Yes.
very, very hard to find a rhythm. And I'm actually going to agree with Andy. Nia Jax is not good. She's sloppy. And dare I would say the reason why she's still on the roster is she's cousins with The Rock. I'll just put that out there. I think there is a spot for Shayna Baszler. She's the Queen of Spades. She has legitimate MMA background. She's definitely hard-hitting. She's been accused of hurting people in the ring as well. Some of her knee strikes actually knocked out Asuka's teeth. However, if I think the other sloppy was Tamina Snuka. Tamina Snuka can't even hit a clean Superfly off the top rope. I think the two big ladies are not very good, and you can make a case for both of them going. But yeah, Nia Jax is not in great shape. It looked like she hurt herself at one point during the match. She was grimacing like her knee went out or something to that effect. Myself, I was rooting for, because Natalia's been there for a long time, and I was hoping anything related to Natalya would get the win. But Jax and Baszler won. I guess Baszler put the Karafuda clutch on Natalya, and she tapped out, and so
very quickly.
And so the champs retain. Again, it seems to be a case of two singles wrestlers being thrown together kind of quickly. They don't really have much of a chemistry as a tag team. Assuming Nia Jax doesn't get thrown out based on our recommendation, where do you see the women's tags?
I have no idea. I think they're just going to keep throwing shit at Jax, and they're just going to keep watching her botch it. I mean, that's what seems to be happening. But like you said, there's a little nepotism there, and that's okay. That's okay. But WrestleMania, like tag champs, give her a living, let her work. Maybe put her back in NXT or something. But
they're not putting Nia Jax back.
Okay,
in NXT.
But you're going to give her a headline. Look, it's just again, it's just and this I give another F because it's even worse than the last one, because this one makes because like you said, yeah, we want to see where Orton and The Fiend go tomorrow night. I could care less what happens with with all four of these. Well, maybe Natty. I'm always interested. She's good, but I'm if what are they on, SmackDown or Raw?
Well, as tag champs, they're on both shows, but they're predominantly on Monday Night Raw.
All right. So when their segment is on tomorrow night, that's when I'm flipping to American Idol or whatever.
It's kind of a shame about Nia Jax, because I remember back at Mania 34, 35, we did enjoy her match against Alexa Bliss for the women's champ,
but there were stakes there. There were, even it was a little silly. It was like the bullying thing.
Yes.
But with them it worked. With Strowman and Shane it doesn't work. But with them it worked, and we were rooting for her because they turned her into an underdog.
Yes.
That didn't exist in this match. There was no underdog. There was no anything. It was just these two women versus these two women who happened to win last night. And the match was like 15 minutes long. It was just like, all right, when are we getting out of here? So yeah, another F for me. And I don't care where it goes. I really don't.
All right, well then let's go to the next match of the night, Andrew. It's Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Going into this match, Moody and Groo both picked Kevin Owens. Maybe a recycled storyline to speak. Sami Zayn, the conspiracy theory, they're all out to get me. They bring in YouTuber Logan Paul into the mix, who got roundly booed by the Tampa Bay audience. Good match, back and forth. Owens stuns Zayn for the win, and then, of course, we get the gratuitous stunning of Logan Paul, which the crowd pops for. I'll throw it to Andy first. Thoughts on Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn?
Agree with you. Good match. Kevin Owens, I believe, is the future of the WWE. I think
the future.
Yes, I do believe he'll be a long-term champion one day. A heavyweight. You don't think so, huh?
No, I think he'll be decidedly mid-card, upper mid-card, with a chance of championship here and there. But a future champion, like long-term, Whereas we talked about The Miz yesterday as sort of being stuck in that mid-card, upper mid-card comedic heel, I don't think Kevin Owens has the look that the WWE or Vince McMahon wants for their leading man or their champ. Roman Reigns has the look. He's muscular. Yeah. Kevin Owens, I think, is a lunch pail. I do. I think he's a lunch pail.
I like how you put it that.
Lunch pail kind of guy, and I think there's a spot for that. And I think that's, his feuds and his matches could be some that steal the overall show. And again, I'm just giving you my opinion. I think he'll be with the company long term, but I think he's a guy that's going to be for mid card or upper mid card fodder.
Okay, I have a little bit higher hopes than that because I've never, at least in my recollection, I've never seen a weak Kevin Owens match. He can make the other people look good. He's one of those guys, I think, and he does a real good job with that. The crowd's always with him. That music goes off, big pop. I would have given this match, I think it was too short. I think they needed a little bit more time to tell the story. But they needed to make room for Logan Paul, which is the reason that I'm moving this match from the grade of B for the match to a C. Why do they need Logan Paul? Let the two go at it. They have this history. Let's close the book on it. Why make it about Logan Paul? That's what the match ended up being about. What for? So C for me for that ending.
Well, why do you think they brought in Logan Paul?
Because he's it's the entertainment value. You're right, but as a wrestling fan, why do you have to make it about him? I mean, he doesn't belong. He just doesn't belong there. Well, I know why.
I don't think the storyline was about him, but obviously what they're looking for is that flash bulb moment where a wrestler stuns a celebrity. Obviously, Logan Paul got booed, so kind of got a heel reaction from the crowd.
Was it a heel reaction, or was it a reaction saying, "Why is this guy here"?
What do you think? It could be a little bit of both.
I really don't know. I'm asking what you think.
I think Logan Paul has got sort of a spoiled baby persona, even in today's real-time media. So I think probably, if you ask me, it was a mixture of both. I think fans were either didn't want him out there, or they'd like to see him, like the bad guy in a sense, get his comeuppance, which he got from Owens. Owens hit him with a pretty snug stunner. I think Logan Paul oversold it just a tad. It didn't really look like that clean stunner.
But that's because that's not Kevin Owens' thing. He's basically did an Austin to him, complete with the trick. He's laughing. He's about to shake his hand, and then the only thing he didn't do is give him the fingers. That Austin does. But basically, it was that, and the crowd popped, but not the kind of pop that I'll bet the WWE was looking for. That's because this is not what we came to see, and this is not what I don't think the fans wanted to see that. I think they were more booing because they just didn't want him there. Bad Bunny definitely had the fans on his side because there was this build-up for that. And you know how critical I was of that beforehand. We talked about it already, so we don't need to get into it, but it won me over. This one was the opposite. It was just exactly what you just said. He's the hot topic, the YouTuber, whatever. He just beat the guy in the boxing match or whatever, so let's just bring him in. Where can we slide him? This is the Wrestlemania. This is the moment. This is the big return. And we're like, where can we stick this guy? No.
I'll agree with you on that. I think comparative to Bad Bunny, there was very minimal build-up with Logan Paul.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't touch upon, your thoughts on Sami Zayn as a wrestler? I don't think we've talked about it much.
No, he's good. I think he's very good, and I thought he was very good in this match. I've liked him better in the past. I'm not digging this kind of crybaby thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
But physically, and he's got great ring chemistry with Kevin Owens, always has. And that's what I wanted to see. And I think the match was too short, and I think the shit with Logan Paul at the end there was more time spent on that than there was on the match, which was supposed to be the story.
Are you cursing a lot because you're on vacation, or are you frustrated?
What did I say just now?
F and S.
You curse
I'm the
too.
one. I know, but I'm saying usually I'm the one cursing.
No, it's just maybe it is vacation or it's the weekend.
I think all jokes aside, I think the WWE was smart. You need a match. Owens and Zayn, supposedly there's a 15-year history between these two guys hitting it on the independent scene and in some of the smaller promotions. So I think you knew going into this they were going to give you at least a credible outing at WrestleMania.
Before we go further, I want to ask your opinion on something.
Go ahead.
Do you? I love the way you answer that. Do you think that the WWE makes more money from a WrestleMania or advertising on a Monday Night Raw? One WrestleMania versus advertising on a Monday Night Raw.
Are we talking about a typical WrestleMania pre-pandemic? Or are you talking about tonight?
Talking about tonight. They make more money tonight or more money tomorrow?
I'm going to say they make more money at a WrestleMania.
Okay. I'd be interested to find out the actual answer to that question, the factual answer, because it just seemed like it's so far as we talk about these matches, it seems like every one of them is set up to get us to watch tomorrow night. And that's not what, and again, I said it before, that's not what you want from a WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Interesting. Remember, they're making, you have ticket prices, you have all that merch.
Yeah.
Now, maybe this year, they were at limited capacity, so that may factor in.
But advertising brings in millions.
True.
So I don't know. But.
All right, the next one is a pretty fun one. United States Championship champion Riddle versus Sheamus. I believe you picked Riddle. No,
I picked Sheamus. I wanted Riddle to win, but I picked Sheamus.
You're a Riddle fan.
I am.
This somewhat surprises
I'm
me.
sure it does.
Knowing what you like about wrestling, so tell everybody what you like about Matt Riddle.
Because he's the rare. He seems like the rare guy who is doing a silly gimmick, but he's doing it so well, and he backs it up in the ring with his skill. He doesn't let the gimmick get in the way of his wrestling. Once that bell rang, it really was all business. And but before that, with the scooter and his stuff backstage, it's entertaining as hell. He's great. Like, I really, really like. I think I like him regardless of the gimmick. I think he's a very talented guy, and this. I really was rooting for him to win here because he's enjoyable to watch, and I want to see more of him.
Legitimate UFC fighter, fought in the UFC. Actually, I think was eliminated because he tested so many times positive for marijuana, and we'll talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. I like Riddle. I think his character, I don't like where the character gimmick has evolved. It was like California surfer stoner, and it's now almost Pee Wee Herman-esque, riding a scooter. Very boyish charm that seems a bit forced. And then, trying to wedge in a marijuana reference every time he's on mic. And I'm saying it's small potatoes, but I kind of liked it as first go. It seems a little bit cartoonish. I don't know if
for whatever reason, that's what I like about it, because I think he does it well. Give that to somebody else like a Sheamus, or they've tried silly gimmicks with people before and they've failed. I think he does it well, and that's why I like it. I could see why people wouldn't though, but I like it because I think he really sells the hell out of it and does a really good job with it.
You mentioned Sheamus, 13, 14-year veteran with the WWE. He's been all up and down the roster on different shows, different sort of gimmicks, stages throughout his career. Your thoughts on Sheamus?
Well, it was a good match.
Well, the match aside, Sheamus has been with the WWE for a long time.
Yeah.
Are you a fan? Give me your thoughts. Just
I
overall.
haven't been. His current incarnation is a good one. I didn't. I liked him in the tag team with Cesaro.
The Bar.
Yeah, the Bar. I enjoyed that, but like I remember, it all comes back to it's like it goes. It still goes back to like Roman Reigns winning that Royal Rumble when everybody expected Daniel Bryan to. It's kind of like when Sheamus won the Money in the Bank thing, or won the championship. I forget. It was a few years ago already, when people really didn't think that was his time.
That was the table match against John Cena when he threw Cena through the table. Okay.
Yeah, I remember everybody was like, why, why him? Why now? Why, like, it was almost like he hadn't earned it yet, even though he had been around for a while. And the proof was in the pudding, because didn't he win the championship but then lost it very quickly? Am I mixing up things here?
No, I think it's fair to say I don't think Sheamus has ever had a very long heavyweight championship.
Yeah, so because I don't think his character was worthy of it. His skill has been, but now I like his no-nonsense heel character. To me, this is the best he's been given, and tonight, his performance in the ring definitely earned the win. I'm not upset. I was rooting for Riddle because I like him. I'm more of a fan of his, but I'm not upset that Sheamus won. And I think I'd like to see more from these two. They had good chemistry in the ring, so I'm going to give this match a B+, and I'm looking forward to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this latest run of Sheamus, he was out for the better part of a year with an injury, and since he's been back, been very, very impressive. Kind of like a utility player. He was on SmackDown, he's on Raw, he's feuding with Jeff Hardy. He can transition here, transition there.
And look at the Bar here now. You got Cesaro, who beat Rollins last night. You got Sheamus, who won the U.S. title tonight. I think we're happy with both. And these guys, look at these guys. They're finally getting, or they're at least on their way to where we think they have the potential to be, and that's a good thing.
To your comment about Riddle and Sheamus continuing, I think that would be a good move. This was a hard-hitting match. Now the monitors, the upper monitors went out for a sizable.
I've never seen you so angry in my life.
Oh my God, you couldn't see.
Yeah.
You could.
I had to put on. I broke out my phone. I put on the Peacock, which that's another thing. Just a side note. Anytime they met
delay.
Right, yeah. Well, it's a 2-minute delay, but that's not surprising. What was funny was anytime that like some of the advertisements in the on the screens said something about the Peacock, you hear chants, "Peacock sucks." Like, fans are not really digging the Peacock thing yet.
Yes,
but we'll get to that at another podcast. But yeah, that made me laugh.
Well, I mean, the match was a pretty hard hitting affair. It was a little bit, there was some sloppiness here and there given the match, but it was hard hitting, and they did some, turnbuckle spots, and we couldn't see what was going on. But Sheamus hits the Brogue Kick and defeats Riddle, and I think it's probably. The win, to me, was more of an affirmation of the years of service and Sheamus being a solid mid-carder than anything that Riddle has done wrong or right. I think Riddle has a bright future with the WWE, and I think this match was good enough that makes me want to see more between these two guys.
Yeah, me too. Agreed.
All right, let's move on. In a Nigerian drum fight. Andrew, have you ever heard of a Nigerian drum fight?
No, and I don't think we really saw one tonight.
Yeah, they didn't give us much details as the Nigerian
it was just
drum fight.
It was a bunch of sticks and like a gong.
Was it basically a Falls Count Anywhere match?
Pretty much.
Like a hardcore kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess. They were just hitting each other with like Steve Blackman kendo sticks or something. And
I think it was a TLD match, tables, ladders, and drums.
Yeah. They didn't make the most of that whole thing, which I'm kind of glad, because I really wanted to see these guys just wrestle.
Okay, well, going into the match, I think you had predicted Big E.
I did.
I had predicted Apollo Crews.
Yes.
Before we get to it, let's get to the hot point. Apollo Crews, sort of a new proud Nigerian warrior gimmick. Harkens back almost to Black Panther, Wakanda. A little edgy for this certainly this woke era that we live in. I'm kind of digging it. What are your thoughts on the new Apollo Crews?
I like it. I really do. And I think there's room. I think there's a lot of room for him to grow. And obviously the WWE does too.
What overall thoughts on his opponent, Big E? I like him a lot.
I love Big E, and I think our prediction for him was at some point he was going to lose the Intercontinental belt to move on to bigger and better things.
I sure hope so.
He better, because he's got the goods, and So yeah, I'm a big fan of Big E, and I'm happy that like last night they brought him out as part of the New Day, like introducing them, but he still can be a singles guy too. They usually don't do that. Once somebody leaves a faction, they kind of go on their own. It's kind of like they never existed as part of that faction. So I'm kind of glad that they're sort of keeping that chemistry going.
We're like brothers for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, let's get to it. The match was a pretty hard-hitting affair, and then of all people, 7-foot-plus Dabo Kato, who was last seen on these Raw Underground MMA-style segments, came out, choke slams Big E, helps Apollo Crews. We've never seen these two guys together. Did not enjoy the ending. I'll throw it to my buddy. What do you got on the ending?
Agree. Horrible ending. Made no sense. Let these people fight. Let them wrestle. Why are you protecting them? It's okay. I was actually going to bring it up during the match with you when we were talking about the possibility of Big E losing, because I was thinking back to WrestleMania 3 with Macho Man Savage and Ricky Steamboat.
Go ahead.
Ricky Steamboat beat Macho Man clean. Okay? Perfectly clean. No cheating, no nothing. Okay? A year later, Macho Man is the heavyweight champion of the world. Nobody's saying, well, he lost to the Intercontinental Champion last year. How could he be the champion? No, that doesn't happen. So why did they have to take the title away from Big E the way that they did? Why couldn't they just let Apollo Crews beat him cleanly? And this guy came in way too soon. I'm interested to read to see if somebody made a mistake, because this match had some good stuff going, and then it just stopped. And you know how, like Bruce Pritchard always says, it's got to tell the story. Tell the story. Well, a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. This story had a beginning and maybe started the middle and then just stopped. Didn't end, just stopped. And why do that to these talent with such talent in the ring?
It was a curious choice. Dabo Kato was last seen in 2020 in these Raw Underground segments, like we mentioned. It's MMA-style shoot fighting that they did for a little bit of time on Monday Night Raw. And my problem is there's no connection between any of the participants. So it would be it might have been passable to me if they had Dabo Kato on SmackDown and he had some interaction with Big E or Apollo or had something to Gris, but there's nothing there.
Or if you really need somebody to come in as a shock. Oh my God, look who's back. Oh my God, where's he been? It's not going to be some guy, somebody that half the people in the audience don't even know, because he was around for such a short period of time before. Where's the shock value in that? Give me someone who has truly been gone for a while. Give me somebody who is a free agent somewhere, or I don't know, something. But that, like, when he went in there, it took me 5 minutes to figure out who it was. You had to tell me.
Yeah.
You know, and then I remembered from a while back. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that he was even ever there. You know, so why him? Why now? And why this? Like, so it's a D- for me.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be that as harsh. I didn't even care if Apollo beated him sort of underhanded, but got
That's fine. That's what a heel does.
Yeah. So, well, look, I'm interested to see where they take Big E and Apollo on SmackDown. I'm hoping Big E moves on to bigger and better things, and I hope Apollo gets hopefully a nice opportunity to run with the IC Championship.
Yes, give him that. If I were booking this, let's end this thing. Move Big E to the heavyweight division, or the heavyweight title picture. You got some talent there that he can definitely run with. Give Apollo Crews a nice run with the IC belt. Give him, you want to know what you want to know what might be a good one? Apollo Crews and Riddle.
Could be.
I could see that.
Well, they certainly have contrasting gimmicks. Like Apollo is a very serious tone gimmick, and Riddle is not.
Exactly. But very disappointed in the booking for this one.
Well, booking schmooking. Let's move on. Up next, as we get to the the end part of the card, Raw Women's Champion Asuka, the Women's Champ, versus Rhea Ripley. So before we get to the actual match, Andrew took Asuka, the champ, to retain. Moody said give it to the newcomer Rhea Ripley. Andrew, just initially thoughts on Asuka.
I think she's fantastic.
So do I.
I think she's. I would say, with the exception of Charlotte, she's my favorite of the women wrestlers. Just because she's got a good combination. She can adjust to her opponent's style, so she can brawl with Charlotte, or she can fly with Alexa Bliss, or Sasha Banks, those kinds of people, and that takes a lot of talent. I was rooting for her, but it was a good match. This was a good match. I enjoyed it, and I wasn't upset. Who did she wrestle again?
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. It seemed like a sudden ending.
Yes,
but maybe it seems like, you know what? All of these.
I felt like she didn't hit that final move cleanly also.
Yeah, but you know something? I was thinking about this because each of these matches seemed to have an abrupt ending, and I wonder if it just comes across, and I know we've been to so many of these live events, but I wonder if it just comes across that way live and it looks different on TV. I don't know. That's why it's going to be interesting.
You'll have to watch the replay on Peacock.
The Peacock for only $2.
I thought it was $4.99.
Yeah, that promotion is over.
Yeah,
who cares? But my point is, I think I'm curious about that. I'm curious to see how it comes across. I seem to usually enjoy them better on TV. Just because we can really truly see things that we weren't able to see live. We go live because we just love doing this shit. But this was it was a good match while it lasted.
Yeah, I agree with you. Asuka, to me, has been the MVP, the workhorse of the women's division. She's carried Raw for the better part of a year on her shoulders.
And she won a Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley, I guess behind the scenes, Charlotte goes out with COVID. Rhea Ripley had been called up from NXT anyway, and I felt like they just rushed into this match. Like Rhea came out and said, "I challenge you," and didn't have to beat anybody to earn it, so to speak. Very, very talented, very, very talented performer. It just felt like to me she was going to get the shine. She had a really crazy entrance into, she had the live band playing behind her song, almost like a cyberpunk gimmick, like a Mad Max kind of gear. And she's big girl, over 6 feet, hard hitting. I felt like she didn't sort of hit that thing clean, but she gets the win. We talked about it a little bit at the actual show at Mania. Where do you think they're going? Some rumors, perhaps Becky's returning, perhaps Charlotte, maybe even Ronda Rousey. What do you see for the future for Rhea, and what do you see for the future for Asuka?
Honestly, with all the question marks, I have no idea. I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Asuka back in the you think it's going to be the opposite of what I hope. I'd like to see her back in the title picture. You think you said at the show, you said you think she's going to be sort of buried on the mid-card for a while.
I think they're going to cool her off.
Yeah.
If Becky and Charlotte and perhaps Ronda return,
Yeah.
I because they've done this to Asuka before. I think she's. I felt like she's been somewhat underappreciated on the roster.
Agreed.
I think when they have the other girls there, she seems to take. The last time when they had all those women, she did the tag team with Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors.
Yes.
So that was a way to keep her.
Yeah.
Prominent, but not on the top level.
Well, that's what they do when they're trying to protect somebody and they don't know what to do with her. They throw her in a tag team.
Well, I think that
and sometimes it works, and sometimes it works. But this match, I'm going to give a B plus because I did enjoy it. I thought both wrestlers did their job and did it well. I just wasn't happy with the fact that I just can't seem to predict a match. But
I'm going to DraftKings.
You better. Jesus.
Well, let's get to the final match of the night. It's the big one. It's the triple threat for the Universal Championship. The champ Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Before we get to the match, let's go to predictions. Groo made a very curious choice and a bold one. He liked Daniel Bryan. Moody went with the champ Roman Reigns. Funny how Edge got sort of ignored amongst the two of us. I'm not sure what that says about him or our thoughts, but let's get to the individual competitors before we break down the match. Andrew, just some thoughts first on Mr. Wrestlemania, Daniel Bryan.
He was great. He always has the crowd in the palm of his hand. He's the guy who really doesn't need a title. He's one of those guys because he's got something that is automatically over. Kind of like he kind of. I don't want to. I'm going to say it, but I don't want to say it. But I'm going to, kind of like Rusev did. I just, with like Rusev Day, like all that stuff. Like people just, they're over. I just don't know.
Yet the WWE seemed to ignore Rusev.
Exactly. I don't get it. It's like, did he sleep with somebody's wife or something? I don't know. And why would you cheat on Lana?
He's got a hot wife for sure.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense. But in any case, Daniel Bryan did. To me, he was the star of this match. He was the one who I loved it when he was going back and forth from the two. He was the only one who was really doing that. He'd go Reigns, Edge. He was, and then that headbutting thing he was doing with Edge while they had Reigns down. But Daniel Bryan was the glue for this match, and he made it work. And this, despite I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit,
of course,
but despite what happened later, I believe Daniel Bryan was the guy who made this match for me the match of the night, and I give it an A-.
So there was some controversy as to the addition of Daniel Bryan making a triple threat, and I'm hearing you. WWE, Vince McMahon made the right call getting Daniel into the mix.
Yes, it was. Usually I don't like these kinds of matches, but all three of them did a terrific job. Roman Reigns too, and
but don't jump the gun.
Okay. Yes, it ended up being the right decision because it was an excellent match. So I give him credit.
Thoughts on Edge since he's returned? Overall thoughts.
I don't know what he's ready. Ready. He's 47, but he keeps delivering, and they seem to be sending him nowhere.
Well, what if I said to you, I thought he's lost ever so slightly momentum since that debut a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, he was out for a little bit.
He had a shoulder injury.
So that made a difference. I think it's because he doesn't. The WWE is not advancing him in any way. They give him the thing with Orton. That was good, but it happened and then it was over. They keep putting him in things and he keeps delivering, but Edge is the kind of guy. Edge is not a Daniel Bryan who doesn't need a title. Edge deserves to have some gold, and I think he needs one more. It doesn't have to be a long one, but one more run, one more title run, and then call it a career. But they're really all they're doing actually with him. They're doing it old school. They're just sending him out there and having him wrestle, and he does great every time. And then it's just on to the next opponent. But in this day and age, there's more storytelling than there was, 30 years ago. So they need to do something more with him if they're going to get their money's worth out of him, because he's delivering.
And he'll get eventually his championship run.
Yeah, and I hope so. And I would not have been unhappy if he got it if he won it tonight. Even though I was sort of rooting for Daniel Bryan, because I love it when guys when things work, and Bryan makes things work. So that's why I was kind of rooting for him, and you always love that underdog angle.
Heel persona for Roman Reigns, head of the table, Samoan dynasty, stoic, angry, heel champ, Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, Jey Uso as his cousin, as sort of his protector, got his back kind of side man. What do you think of the relatively newer presentation of Roman Reigns as your heel champ?
Better than the older one, but still, and he did impress me tonight. More than usual, but they keep it's interesting because they keep putting.
When are you going to cut Roman Reigns a break?
Well, this might do it for you. This thought, they just keep putting him in there with people I like more.
Okay. That
seems to be the problem. They keep putting him in there with people I root for more than him. Put him in there with somebody I don't like, and I'll root for Roman Reigns.
Well, for a guy who likes believability, for a guy who doesn't like, it's a tough sell for you. Like with the Bad Bunnies and the Logan Pauls. I see Roman Reigns and Lashley on the Raw side, and even McIntyre, credible big guy champions. And my thing is, I'd like to see on the SmackDown side Roman Reigns have a old school Hulk Hogan type run at the top. I don't mean Hulk Hogan in terms of persona.
I know what you mean.
I mean, give him a year and a half, 2 years as your champ, and then deliver it to somebody who really could benefit from the shine. A Big E, for example, a younger guy who's never had that opportunity. I don't think a Daniel Bryan or Edge gain anything from a belt, from getting a belt from Roman Reigns. Because I finally see a credible champ. Daniel Bryan as my champ, I love it, I enjoy it, but he's he's 6 feet 210. It's a fair expectation for me as a wrestling fan to think that a lot of guys on the roster, if they have a good day, could beat him. I don't see a lot of guys on the SmackDown side right now that, in my mind, could legitimately challenge Roman for the title. And I'd like to see an old school run. They haven't done it in quite a while.
It's kind of tough to do that with the thin rosters of each side, because they're limited to a certain amount of people, because there's Raw and then there's SmackDown. But forgetting that for a second, I'll give you two scenarios that I would love to see Roman Reigns in.
Go ahead.
I would love to see Roman Reigns in a program with Big E, and I would and forget who's on Raw and who's on SmackDown for a moment, and I would love to see Roman Reigns in a program with Bobby Lashley. I think, and I know they're both champions of their respective brands, but I think those two feuds could bring the best out of everybody. And to me, those are two marquee matchups. I would love, and honestly, if he was going against Big E, I'd probably root against Big E. I'd probably root for Big E. But you give me Roman Reigns versus Lashley, I'll go like old school, root for the face. Give me Reigns as a face, and give me Lashley as a heel, and I will root for Reigns. I think that would draw money, as they say in the biz.
What did you think of the ending in which Roman, I think, concertoed both guys and then dragged, I think, Edge or Daniel Bryan on top of Edge and then pinned both guys? You don't see that very often. Did that take away from Edge and Daniel Bryan, or is that just to sort of emphasize we got a real tough guy at the top here.
I think that ending worked. I think it was a little too soon. I would have liked to have seen more. This match didn't seem long enough. But maybe it just seems abrupt live because we're not listening. Because remember, on TV, the announcers are there to help tell the story. We don't get that live. So it might seem more abrupt that way. So I think it's a cool ending. I think for Roman or whoever was going to win in a triple threat match, to be able to pin both of them at the same time legitimizes the win more than anything else. I didn't want Roman to win because to me it's more of the same. Because he's headlined all these wrestlers.
The same is so good right now. It's so good. That's my opinion.
You don't think it? Well, this brings me to let's finish talking about the match, and then I have one final point about the entire thing to make.
Go ahead.
Well, my point is that as I was watching the match, I kind of got the feeling that Edge was going to win because I realized that throughout both nights of WrestleMania, there wasn't a true WrestleMania moment. There wasn't a huge splash. There were a couple of tries that didn't really hit, but there wasn't that holy shit moment.
You don't think, I don't know about holy shit, but you don't think Bianca Belair, the way they promoted that and continuously put that on social media and even television reports, you don't think they talked about Bianca Belair, Sasha stealing the show, historic match in the making, 2 African American women, 2 black women fighting for the women's championship. I don't know if that's a holy shit moment, the finish, but the tears, the emotionality, you don't think that was fairly close to a WrestleMania moment? The husband comes out, the family, they're hugging, they're kissing, they're crying.
Close, but no. Wait. Close.
Hold on. If you can give your opinion, but I'm saying to me that I mean, I can't see how much closer they can get for your definition.
Okay. I'll give you that, except I don't think it's. You backed me into a corner here because you're talking
the truth.
No. Well, you always speak the truth, but my point is that it's using the novelty, and it shouldn't even be a novelty. You're having the 2 African Americans fighting for the title, women, which so it's almost like it seemed a little manufactured to sort of satisfy the current climate of political correctness. It was a great match, and I loved all that stuff at the end. It was fantastic. And I'm thrilled that it ended the way it did. But it didn't satisfy, for me, it didn't satisfy that hunger for one thing to happen that just makes you just stand up and go, fuck yeah. It didn't quite do that. And I think if if Daniel Bryan had won, that wouldn't have done it. It would have been cool, but it wouldn't have done it. Roman Reigns, for me, didn't do it because we've been there. But if Edge had won...
so if the veteran male would have done it...
Well, wait, come on.
No, I'm going to call you out on it because I don't think that's a fair assessment. Hold on.
All right.
These
you just kind of accused me of...
you've accused me of a lot of things on this podcast.
Like what?
I can't think of anything right now.
Exactly.
I'm in the flow.
That's what I thought. Go ahead.
What I'm saying to you is manufactured. If these 2 ladies aren't talented, there's no more talented. The WWF has a lot of talented female wrestlers, but there's no more talented wrestler than Sasha Banks and Bianca. I mean, NCAA track champion. I mean, the display of strength that she showed during that match. The match itself, I won't say it was 5-star, but it was 4-star. And if it wasn't deserving of that spotlight, I would lend credibility to that statement. But you can't tell me that those two ladies didn't deserve to be in the main event at night one. You just can't.
I didn't say that.
Okay, but
I just saying it didn't quite get for me. It didn't quite get there because wait a second, and then you said a white.
I didn't say white guy. I said
you
male.
said male, but then you said veteran. Leave the word veteran out of it because veteran is not a stereotype.
Oh, hold on. Okay? That's your opinion. So you can
veteran is a stereotype?
No, but I'll say, I'm just calling out what I think is your faulty logic. But you can.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. What?
That's not cool. No. If Daniel Bryan had won, that wouldn't have quite done it for me as a big, huge WrestleMania splash because we've been there. Roman Reigns, we've been there. But Edge, I think deserving of one final big run. It would have been a surprise, and Bianca was certainly a surprise. But the history isn't there yet for me. That doesn't mean it won't be, but it didn't create that huge coming back in front of fans splash that and I don't think they were trying to go for that. I don't think they had her win because of I think they had two great wrestlers in the ring wrestling. I didn't think of two African American women wrestling. I thought of two great women wrestling, not even women, two great wrestlers going at it, and a terrific match.
You brought up the WrestleMania moment. My only point was
it wasn't a WrestleMania moment to me, and you're calling that a character flaw, and it's not. It's my opinion. All
right. Well, let's wrap up, and what I said to you is the stakes that they put with this match, how they kept on talking about historic moment. The woman, Bianca wins. The family's out there. The husband comes in the ring, puts her up on his shoulders. That doesn't. It comes. All I said was, if that's not a WrestleMania moment, that's about as close as one can get.
Yeah, and it was close, but it wasn't quite there.
Well, simply my point.
I think if Edge had won, that would have been a WrestleMania moment. But everybody's WrestleMania moment is their own opinion, and I don't think you can fault somebody for having an opinion. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe wait.
So
let me
disagree with your opinion.
No,
that's called fault.
Wait a second, Evan. First
Don't
of all,
Evan me.
Is that not your name?
Oh, brother, go ahead.
Why would you?
Go ahead.
What? Sometimes you just infuriate me.
Go ahead.
You insinuated that it was because that it was because of the male thing, the veteran thing, and the fact that it was that I don't think women can create a WrestleMania moment.
Yep.
That's not it. Here's what it is. I am not as familiar with those two over the years as I am with the other ones. As I get familiar with these people, it will mean more to me. But I have not followed their careers the way I have followed Edge's career. So for me, that would have been a bigger moment. Just like if Charlotte had come back, who I have followed, that would have been a huge moment for me. It didn't happen. If Ronda Rousey had come back, that would have been a big moment for me but it didn't happen. The other two, Sasha I have kind of followed. Bianca I'd never really seen before. That just because I don't consider it a huge WrestleMania moment to me doesn't mean I don't appreciate it and don't think it's great.
Who said you didn't appreciate it? I simply said to you, the woman won.
Right.
The family rushed to the gate. The husband came in the ring, pyro going off, historical moment. I didn't. All I said was, if that comes as close to a WrestleMania moment, I don't know what does. You would assign a WrestleMania moment to a veteran guy, yes.
For me.
Okay, but Sasha Banks has been in the WWE since 2013.
Yes, but me personally have not been as familiar.
So is that her fault? Is
no,
that their fault?
But what does she give a shit if I think it's a WrestleMania moment for her? This is my personal opinion.
So we're debating right here. We're chatting. So
but what you're saying is that you're saying that I'm wrong when it's an opinion. When it's a feeling, when it's there's no right or wrong here.
I said I don't agree with your opinion.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay,
but what you were saying is that because you said the word male veteran.
Yes.
Well, guess what?
I stick by that.
Why? Daniel Bryan's a male veteran, and that wouldn't have done it for me. Roman Reigns is a male veteran.
You would assign a WrestleMania moment to a veteran guy like Edge, but you wouldn't acknowledge...
Not a veteran guy like Edge. Edge.
Okay, fine.
No, but there's a difference. Roman Reigns is a guy whose career I have followed for years. He's male. He's a veteran. He's been a champion. He won. That didn't quite do it for me. Edge would have done it for me because of the return. He's been, that's a huge thing that happened a couple of years ago. We had never expected that to happen. We never expected all these years later to be rooting for Edge in the main event of WrestleMania. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer. He was gone for several years. So to come back and main event WrestleMania and win, that to me, as a fan for as long as I've been, that to me would have pushed it over the top. As opposed to two wrestlers that I am less familiar with, which is less of a huge thing for me. But everything else you say is absolutely true.
Of course, because I'm right.
Okay.
All I'm saying again is, look at the circumstances of the match. It closes out night one. Mm-hmm. Yes, they made it a point to say historic night. We know the reasons why they called it an historic match.
Yes.
The young lady wins. The husband comes in and puts her on her back. Pyro, they're hugging. She's crying in the middle of the ring. The cameras follow her. She's crying backstage. I go back and pull the tape. I said, if that doesn't come as close to a WrestleMania moment, I don't know what does. And my whole point is, yes, you would assign that to Edge, but not acknowledge that.
I acknowledge it.
Okay,
I acknowledge it. But for me, we keep going around in circles, and you keep telling me I'm wrong. But there's no right or wrong. It's for me.
Okay, I don't.
For the reasons that I said, you don't have to agree. This is not. This is.
My Lord. Okay, well then, what's the function of debating on a podcast? I mean, there's plenty
but you.
Okay, well, we can agree.
No, listen. Every time we get into a thing and you don't get your way, you don't have to say, "All right, let's wrap it up." Come on.
It's not about getting my way. I mean,
but
if I don't agree with your opinion.
No. Wait a second. We disagree all the time. This started because you made a judgment that, for me, it's all about the male veterans. You didn't say Edge, you didn't say Daniel Bryan, you didn't say Roman Reigns. You said the male veteran. I said no, it would have been just Edge because of all the reasons that I said. That's it. It has nothing to do with the kind of with the gender or with the type of match or with the years or whatever. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with the specific person, okay, who I am much more familiar with and have followed much more closely than the other ones that we were talking about. That's why, for me, that would have been a huge moment. The other one was a terrific moment, but it wasn't the one that I'm going to remember, that I would have remembered the most from these two nights. If Edge had won, that would have been the one I remembered the most, that I would recall most and talk about most. Okay? Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me I don't even know what the word is, prejudice in any way, because I don't call that thing the best or the top moment for me. Does it? Yes or no?
Who said you were prejudiced?
No, but like I said, you generalized that it has to be a male veteran. No,
I'll stick by everything I said.
Well, I'm kind of offended by that.
Okay, well, I don't think I said anything wrong. You gave an opinion, and I disagree with the opinion. So what's the harm?
No, you can disagree with the opinion, but
Okay.
but disagreeing with the opinion and telling me that I am making that kind of generalization is a little bit of a personal shot.
Well,
that's not what it is.
Because you didn't invest the time into the whole card of night 1 and night 2. So basically you're saying, I know Edge, therefore in my mind he can qualify as a Wrestlemania moment. I don't know Sasha Banks. I don't know.
That's not what I said. I said I'm not as familiar. It doesn't have all the years behind it.
Well,
what? That's not acceptable to you?
That's fine.
Well, so why shrug your shoulders like that? Why?
Because I can.
Because you can. Because it's not acceptable to you. Because you keep like, I'm not quite sure what point you're trying to make. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I can have my own opinion about
And why can't I have my own opinion?
You absolutely can.
Okay,
Who's arguing with your opinion? We're talking about your disrespect of my opinion. That's what we're talking about. If you think that was the best part of the whole thing, great. I think that's terrific that you have one. I don't have one. Okay. Because nothing happened. That's how I wanted to end the thing. The biggest disappointment for me of both nights is that for me there wasn't a huge splash that they really needed to make as the first event back, WrestleMania, from the pandemic. It was a huge moment, a huge chance, and there were more clunkers than there were winners, and there was not a huge moment. And you know something else? Even if Edge did win, I you know what? I changed my mind. I still don't think that would have been enough because of the weakness of the rest of the card on both nights. So it wouldn't have been enough.
Well, we did agree that we thought night 1 was much superior to night 2.
Yes, but that's not saying much because night 2 was pretty damn weak. I mean, I think the only match I like the Big E match and I like the main event, but I didn't love any match. And that's not good for a 2-night WrestleMania with 14, 15 matches. That's really not good. And there were some really bad ones. So all of that kind of, for me, offset the chance that meant that something major would have had to happen. And even Edge winning the title wouldn't have been enough to create the big splash, the big moment that I think was needed from these 2 nights. So no, it wouldn't have been enough. It would have been cool. I would have marked out. I would have said, yes, that's great. But then I would have been worrying about whether we're going to go to Denny's or IHOP because it wouldn't have mattered enough. You know, so that's the point I'm trying to make. So it's got nothing to do with what they are. It's got more to do with who they are and how it's done. I agree 1,000% with what you are saying about that match, that first night. It's going to go down in history as a great moment. Okay, but it just, for me, it's not Hogan slamming Andre. It's not those kinds of things. Not yet. Okay, that's the thing. Not yet, and simply because, and you're right. That's my fault because I have not followed them.
It's not a question of fault. And when you compare it to Hogan Andre, clearly it falls short. Remember what I said? I said if that doesn't come as close to a WrestleMania moment from this WrestleMania, I don't know what is. It'll be to everyone's judgment whether or not in the annals of history, and if it's on the WWE, video feed that goes before each show. I'm not saying it belongs there.
Maybe
but
it will.
It was, to me, if you're looking at night 1 and night 2, that's about as close to a Mania moment as we got. Now, specific to Edge,
I'll agree with you.
And specific to Edge, I felt like when he won the Royal Rumble in 2020, it was white hot,
bigger than this, bigger than any.
And I felt like he's
wait, you're gonna love this. Okay. Hold on, wait, you're gonna love this. Even that was not as big as Bianca winning. I'm going to give you that because, and I firmly believe that. Okay, Edge coming back was could have been the start of something huge that could have culminated in tonight. That would have been a point A 2 years ago to point B tonight, culminating in that. Didn't happen. Okay, but even still, okay, what happened last night at the main event was a bigger and will have much more staying power in the future than Edge returning at the Royal Rumble. So I absolutely agree with you that it's a monumental thing, and maybe I'll look at it even. All right, go ahead.
I don't know about monumental. What my only point was, it was as about as close as a Mania moment as we got from the first two.
And nights. I agree.
And I think Edge will get that obligatory championship run, but I feel like, especially after he went out with the injury, he had a good opening run with Orton. Those were some good matches. There was a reason why they put Daniel Bryan in here. And
we knew that.
I think it was, the word on the street was perhaps the powers that be did not feel Edge and Roman could pull off on their own a 20-25 minute main event caliber match at WrestleMania. Now, obviously, both you and I agree that Daniel Bryan was the glue, was the straw that stirs the drink in this match. He made everything move forward. The interesting piece was they had 3 separate stories that all sort of intertwined at the main event.
You said that, and you're absolutely right. But let me ask you a question. Do you agree with what those dirt sheets said? I mean, yeah, we saw the match, and Daniel Bryan was the glue, but that's the way the match was put together. Okay? Let's say Daniel Bryan was not in this. Do you agree with what they said, that they didn't feel that Edge and Roman could carry a 25-minute main event?
Well, this will be not really fair to both Edge and Roman, but I think the results tonight, probably the powers that be were correct.
I think I probably agree with you, but I'd still and you know what?
But you can now get a Roman Edge match, and it's
that's exactly what I was just going to say, because they weren't going to take that chance for a main event at WrestleMania. That's basically what you're saying, and I agree with it. They needed to get Daniel Bryan in there to make sure that this was a good one. They weren't going to see if they could do it. They couldn't take that risk. Do you buy that?
I do buy that. Yeah.
So now you can have Raw. You can have Edge. They're SmackDown guys, right?
Yes.
You can have Edge versus Roman as the main event on every SmackDown for here till the rest of the summer, and they'll probably all be just as good, but they'll be shorter and they'll be much more. They don't need to carry 25 minutes on live television. They don't do that anymore. But you're absolutely 100% right, and I think I agree with those with what you read about that, and I'm glad they did, because it was a very entertaining match.
Look, could those guys pull it off? I mean, we don't know as of yet, but the results of this match, I mean, clearly they were right in booking it as a triple threat.
Yeah, they did, and we called it. We saw it coming a mile away a few weeks ago. But let me ask you one more question, okay? not to not to open up another spirited debate.
Oh boy, here we
I just
go.
I just want to ask you a question.
By the way, my aim is not to get into a massive argument.
No, I know
with
that.
you.
I know that. But my question is this: what? And I know we talked about it last night, but ending aside and the moment aside, was that match a great match to you? I don't remember what we said.
I thought Sasha Bianca was a good match, but no, not a great match. I felt like they didn't hit all the spots cleanly. Again, we'd have to go back and listen, but no, my recollection was it was a good match, not a great match.
Yeah, I remember liking it, not loving it, but I am looking forward to watch, and I am going to rewatch this in both nights and in their entirety on the can't even call it the network anymore, Peacock. I am gonna watch them because I want to see if my opinion changes about anything, because it does, like I said, it does look different. But from our vantage point, I stand by what my opinions about everything. But maybe they'll change because I do want to see it the way most of the world saw it, except for the lucky ones like us.
I mean, when I really reflect on it, between night 1 and night 2, I think the two actual best overall clean matches were Lashley and McIntyre, and Bad Bunny and Priest versus The Miz and Morrison.
We said that. You know what? Interestingly enough, all right, just to put a cap on this whole thing, we did say, I think we agreed that last night the match of the night was the Bad Bunny was that match, surprisingly. And I think we credited The Miz for that, but that's kind of pretty close to a WrestleMania splash too, except even that's not big enough.
Well, WrestleMania splash is something that a WrestleMania moment. The WrestleMania
that's
moment
what I
is
mean. That's what I mean.
It's crystallized in time.
Right.
It usually has a emotionality behind it.
Right. All right. Okay. All right. All right. You know what?
Certainly, Bad Bunny had an amazing pro wrestling debut at WrestleMania for sure. And I think as they showed the article, the bar has been risen for the celebrity-involved pro wrestling match.
And here's my point, and this is not to say that this is right, because it's not, but the press is focused on what Bad Bunny did and not what really mattered from the night, which is that last match.
Do you think, though, really, in the WWE or Vince McMahon eyes, he really cares? Because I don't think he does. I think they're simply looking at eyes on the product and whatever.
Oh no, I don't.
Whatever PR they can get.
No, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about WrestleMania moments and big things, you would hope that the focus would be on the barriers that were broken by that last match, but it's not, because they're focused on the Bad Bunny.
Yeah, and I agree with you, by the way. I didn't look at that match either and say two African-American women going at it. I thought of two very talented young ladies.
Which I think is good. We
Right.
shouldn't look at it that way.
What I did say on last night's podcast was, upon reflection, I think I should have seen the Bianca victory coming from a mile away, because they sort of were angling to that. It was not. It was similar. I felt a little bit. Maybe it's a reach to Shawn Michaels' boyhood dream.
You said that.
It was the young girl's dream to overcome and reach and become the women's champ.
And you know what? That
was sort of the way they booked Bianca going into this match.
And that's why, and that just cements my point, because I didn't really even know that until you told me, because I don't follow the TV shows as much as I wish I did, because I just don't enjoy them as much anymore. I love the pay-per-views. I love the wrestling. But so I wasn't, like I said 1,000 times already, I wasn't as familiar with all that.
Yeah.
So you told me about it, and based on that, I'm seeing your logic as, okay, yes, but emotionally for me, it's not there yet, because I'm not, and I know you're gonna give me a funny look with this one, because I'm going to go way back in time now because I'm reminded of the Macho Man Elizabeth thing after his career-ending match. That to me, because I had been with those two for so long, and this was the culmination of that. I knew you were going to look at me like that. But the point is, the big moment of that for me, and I know we're getting off topic here, but the big I know. But I just want to illustrate my point. The big moment for that for me was not the reunion between Macho Man and Elizabeth, was the moment after when Elizabeth exited the ring and Macho Man was standing in the ring, his career allegedly over, looking around at all these fans who have been cheering him and booing him for years, and him basically kissing them goodbye. And that was the big moment for me from that. Not Elizabeth coming back and the people in the audience crying and all that stuff. That was cool, but the big thing was this guy, his career had just ended, and he's just standing around and he's like saying goodbye, and it's giving me goosebumps thinking about it right now. That's the level that I needed to be at to be a big WrestleMania moment. And maybe I set the bar too high. Maybe I do.
Well, you talk about expectations, so let's begin to sort of wrap up tonight, because we got Broken Skull Sessions, Chris Jericho to watch and fall asleep to tonight. So
we'll be out before the credits are even done introducing the show.
But we did talk. I mean, clearly WrestleMania 37 was somewhat of a unique one. Post-pandemic, rain delays, match finishes, some not weird endings. When you maybe it's too soon, but as you maybe take a little bit of a step back, what are your overall thoughts? Somebody said, Groo, tell me about WrestleMania 37. A couple of sentences. How do you finally sum it up?
The show sucked. I had a great time.
Really?
Yeah.
Show sucked.
Both of them.
I thought you really. Wow! Didn't you not say that you enjoyed night one?
I think going into night two, the expectations were so high that night two was so bad, it kind of took away from night one.
Okay.
I think I need it to ferment a little bit, and I think I do need to rewatch it.
You need to ferment, huh?
Is that did I use that word correctly?
No, listen, I need to ferment. I need to ferment too.
Maybe breathe. I don't know what the word is, but the show all right. The show was not terrible, but from what it should have been, it sucked. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So that's how I feel. But I still had a great time. I enjoyed being there. I love being there with you. I love the laughs that we have. I love the cheering that we do. I love the whole experience. Being here and doing everything. It almost doesn't matter if the show is good or not. There's still no substitution for being there and being there together and doing this. So I had the time of my life. Doesn't matter that the show wasn't good or wasn't what it should have been or could have been or wasn't even close. So that's what I would say to somebody who asks me, how was WrestleMania? I had a blast. Show wasn't good, but I had a blast.
WrestleMania 38, Arlington, Texas, in the Jerry Dome.
Sucked. Oh, wait. It hasn't happened yet.
You're already predicting.
Yeah. Let's end with this with both of our answers to this question, and I'll pose the question. Should they go back to one night? You go first.
I think they're going to, and I would say probably, unfortunately, yeah.
I agree.
I don't want a 6-hour show.
Me neither.
Clearly,
there doesn't have to be.
I don't know why. And New York was so annoying. It was like 7+ hours.
It doesn't. Well, the truth is that's our fault, because if we're not interested in the pre-show, we don't have to go for it. We could show up at 7:30.
Yeah,
and then be perfectly.
Park Ware and
that's a good point too.
Fayetteville, New Jersey.
Or we could just, I don't know. There are a lot of things we could do, but no, you're that's a great point. But you're right about that. But they don't need, like, Like that second match from last night, the big Survivor Series type schmaz that was supposed to be on the pre-show. When the pre-show got canceled, they just should have cut it out of the main thing. But then that would have screwed up tonight. I didn't realize that. But they just don't need that. One dark match, one pre-show match would be fine. Do it at 7:15. Why start the shit at 4:00? Why even open the doors at 4:30? It's not like they're showing up to see batting practice. Why must that be? There's to get more money from concessions or merchandise? Is that why? If you're going to do that, then you know what? Do the fan access. Do the last fan access like at the stadium that day. Maybe a mini one for people to go to. So make it more of an experience instead of asking people to sit in the seats from 4 to midnight. Something like that, maybe.
Well, I think between all of the, for both of us, our complaining and bitching and moaning, there was some great moments. Look, just like this podcast, WrestleMania 37, there was some ups, there were some downs, but overall, we're glad to do it. Real quick before Groo, we wrap it up. We actually have a fan request. A fan messaged us on our Nothing Worthwhile Facebook page and requested. So our next show,
I'm not playing the mail jingle right now.
No, we're going to stay in the
Too loud.
We're going to stay in the wrestling realm.
Really?
Yes, we're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 9.
Ooh, WrestleMania 9. That's
certainly a very unique WrestleMania.
Yes, and interestingly enough, a very controversial one. And it's going to allow me to talk about Hulk Hogan again, which I do want to address certain things about Hulk Hogan from this year. And I'll save that for next podcast because it will connect.
And I know
that's very interesting.
And I'll just say this, based on Hulk and Titus's segments and Bailey, I never want there to be another WrestleMania host again.
Agreed.
And by the way, no criticism of the Hulk, Titus, or Bailey.
Right. They did what they were supposed to do.
Shit.
Garbage.
The material was shit.
Garbage.
And it just took away from the whole flow of the night.
100% agree.
I mean, Titus and Hulk coming out in pirate suits. Oh, come on, guys.
Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ. Sometimes, like, you would think that one of them would say, "Vince, come on, man. This is what are we doing?"
Yeah.
I would have I would have liked for Hogan to come out one night in the red and yellow, and then the next night is NWO. That would have been fun. But I do agree with you. Get rid of the host because they don't give them anything to do except stupid shit. If they're going to give them something to do, that's another thing, and it's got to be something good. But I am in 100% agreement with you on that one.
So in 1 week, WrestleMania 9. In 2 weeks, as an homage to our favorite drummer, Liberty DeVito, we will be Nothing Worthwhile.
Oh, yes.
We will be checking out and reviewing Billy Joel's final pop album, River of Dreams.
Yes. Ooh, I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks. And that's a big thing for me to say. I usually look forward to nothing.
Well, Andrew, Tampa, it's a wrap. As always, it was a pleasure. You want to take us out?
I will take us out, take us home. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a sign-off from Tampa, Florida. We are exhausted, but you know what? It's worth every second to be here with my best friend, my brother, my partner in crime. Always a pleasure to be here for all of you, giving you our experience of WrestleMania 37. We'll see you next year from Dallas, Texas, WrestleMania 38. And until then, 1, 2, 3. Rip 'em! I just ripped them.
That was your WrestleMania moment. Oh, God.